Hello there, my name's Sue Curr. I'm a mental wellbeing mindset specialist who works largely with children and young adults to empower them to step up and into the best version of themselves that it's possible to be. Now, I don't know about you, for any of the kids that are watching, but when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a marine biologist, which are very fancy words for diving deep in the ocean and swimming around with the dolphins and the octopus and the squids and the fish. I wanted to be down there under the sea, to quote Ariel. I wanted to be somebody who could make a difference in that world. I never became a marine biologist, but I did learn to swim, and I did, not very successfully, but I did learn to scuba dive. The trick is, kids and grown-ups, when as children we tell our grown-ups what we want to be, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a teacher, a doctor, I want to work in Morrison's, I want to learn to scuba dive. It doesn't matter what you want to be now. If you can believe you can do it, then you can do it. I believe you can fly. Do you? When we can believe in ourselves, and this is for everybody incidentally, this is applicable to grown-ups and to children. When we can believe in ourselves, when our self-belief is so secure, it gives us the wings to fly and the courage to fall. Because in the falling, we know we can get back up again and try again. And it doesn't matter how many times we have to do that. It doesn't matter. Everything that's worth doing is worth doing well, but nothing that's worth doing comes without an act of repetition. Think about it, kids. For those of you who can recite your ABC, for those of you who can solve math problems, for those of you who can skip and jump and do a forward roll, did you do it right the first time? If you did, well done. If you didn't, that's what I mean by practice. The more we practice a skill set, doesn't matter what the skill set is, the better at it we'll get. And every time we practice something and we don't get it right, we haven't done anything, we've not made a mistake, we haven't failed. All we've done is learn how not to do it. And then we try again in a different way. Every time we do that, we create what as grown-ups we know are neurons. As small people, as young children, I refer to them as light bulbs. We get a light bulb going off in our head. Oh wow, I now know how to do my ABCs. And then you do it again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you get really excited because you haven't forgotten it. And you haven't forgotten it because you've practiced so often that your brilliant brain has remembered all the hard work that you've done, and it's stored it away for future reference. Our brains, our minds, are our very own mini computer. Our brain is the operating system. Our conscious mind is the bit that understands that actually we're all watching this video. Our subconscious mind is the bit that allows us to forget about all the things we don't need to know every day, but we can remember to do them when we want. And our unconscious brain quite happily whirs away in the background, totally not bothered about what we're doing on a daily basis, but totally making sure that we all stay healthy by remembering to breathe and remembering that our heart should be beating and so on. Every part of our mind, our brain, has a different function. Every one of us will come to have a different function in life as we grow up. It's our job as your grown-ups to help you to understand that it doesn't matter how many times you have to practice your ABCs. It doesn't matter how many times, as long as you don't hurt yourself, that you fall off your bike. What does matter is if you want to do something, that we keep practicing with you to help you. You'll get to a point where you want to do that on your own. Because as you grow up, you want to be a bit independent, yeah? You don't want your grown-ups looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes, and that's also fine as long as you stay safe. But the point is, if you tell yourself you can't do something, if we as grown-ups tell ourselves we can't do something, guess what? It won't happen. And it won't happen not because we can't do it. It won't happen because we're not prepared to try, just in case we get it wrong again, because we don't want to look daft and we don't want our mates to think we're silly and we want our grown-ups to be proud of us. Here's a tip, kids. Your grown-ups are proud of you. They're proud of you already. Ask them. If they haven't told you yet today how proud they are of you, ask them. Go on, I dare you. But that aside, for the grown-ups in the room, it's also important to note that no matter what our youngsters tell us, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a vet, I want to be a teacher, a doctor, a postman, a lorry driver, a nurse. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old they are when they tell us that. They can be 3, they can be 5, they can be 10, 15. The importance in all of this is that we as their grown-ups mirror that self-belief back to them. Who are we to tell them they can't do it? We're their parents and their carers and their educators. And yes, we can advise them to stay safe, to not do anything dangerous, or if they're going to do something dangerous, we can help them to do it as safely as possible. I'm talking about older children there, obviously. If we can mirror the belief our children have in themselves, starting from the minute they can walk and talk, if not before, from birth, if we can mirror the belief that our children have in themselves back to them, and we can help them to understand that they do have wings of self-belief, and if that means they want to learn to fly, literally they can. But it will also give them the courage to know that if they make a mistake, if they fall down, literally or otherwise, that it's okay. Because without condition, we're going to be there to pick them up. We know, as grown-ups, we know we're going to do that for our kids. We assume that our kids know that too. And to be perfectly fair, the majority of them do. There are many kids who don't. Even if they know their parents are loving and kind, there are many kids that sort of fall under the radar. Because unknown to us, they may be going through some environmental, societal conditioning outside school. Peer groups, gaming levels on YouTube and the like. All stuff which is very competitive and which can get quite sinister, I think, on many levels. And I'm not just talking about the villains in the superhero games. But we can do what we can do. None of us know what we don't know. And the key with everything actually is communication. Having open and honest conversations with your grown-ups kids is part of the way to help you feel better about yourself. As kids, grown-ups in the room, as kids, we're very good, largely, about articulating our needs. I need a drink. I need the toilet. I need this book. I've got to have this Lego set. I need it. And clearly as grown-ups, we have to decide if that's a need or a want, because they are a bit different. But the point is, when it comes to our self-belief, there isn't any dream too big. There isn't any want or need too big. Our kids want to be an astronaut? Work with them, drawings, writing, do some research, find out what they need to know. One of the best ways that we can help our kids to develop a growth mindset isn't anything fancy, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's quite simply to add in one small word into their everyday vocabulary, into your everyday vocabulary. And this is applicable to grown-ups as well as children. I want to be an astronaut. I'm never going to be an astronaut because I just can't do it. I'm not clever enough. I don't have enough money. I'll never be able to go to university. All these thoughts are in our minds as grown-ups. They're why we don't do the things that we say we want to do. The excuses manifest themselves as reasons. We buy into the story we tell ourselves and we don't get to where we say we want to be. obviously not exclusively. But when that sort of thing is happening within the minds of our young people, it's important to understand that there is much we can do to help them get over that. And in the early days, certainly in the very early days, before they're sort of 7, 8, 9, 10, it's vital to understand that just by adding the one word into their vocabulary that will help them to understand they can do something is the word yet. The next time they say to you, I can't do this, your answer needs to be, and indeed their answer ultimately to themselves needs to be, I can't do this yet. When we take a negative statement, I can't learn my alphabet, to I can't learn my alphabet yet, and then level it a little bit further to how can I learn my alphabet and enjoy myself? You see where we go? We go from a negative statement to one of possibility to a question of an opportunity. If we can apply that principle as a rule of thumb in our everyday conversations, it takes the pressure off everybody. It takes the pressure off us as parents and carers and educators. It takes the pressure off the kids because they don't feel the need to perform to perfection every single time. And in not wanting to be perfect and understanding that it's okay to fall down, to fail, in inverted commas, to make mistakes, they have the courage to stand back up again and try some more. And it's in the trying and falling and the getting up again that our resilience is born. And with the resilience comes the courage to keep trying until one day, boom, we've done it. We've learned our alphabet. We've learned to ride our bike. We can swim 50 metres or 100 metres. We understand the periodic table in secondary school. We have the skill set. Our kids are very malleable. 0 to 7-year-old, that's what we call the imprinting years. By the time they're 7, or circa 7 years old, they already understand who and what they are in terms of what they believe they can do. Everything we learn in life, we learn through repetition. When our can'ts turn into cans, our dreams turn into plans. It's our job to help them to understand that that's their job. To turn their can't do into I can do. So they can be an astronaut, a doctor, a teacher, a postman. Doesn't matter. The concept of mirroring their self-belief back to them is one thing. The concept of mirroring their self-belief back to them and allowing them to see how possible it is entirely another. We all as children daydream. I lost count of the number of times I got into trouble at school for staring out the window and daydreaming. Daydreaming is how I couch it these days when I meditate. I allow my mind to wander off and search for possibilities. I don't know of any bigger possibility in any of our lives, to be frank, than that of the children who are in our lives. Each and every child, each and every one of us came into this world a blank canvas. We all arrived without an agenda. And by the time we're 5, 6, 7, 8, we've already started creating these little agendas. I want to be a spaceman. I want to be a nurse. We play doctors and nurses. We play shops. This is all imaginative play. And every single time we do that, essentially, our mind's thinking outside the box. We can foster that in our kids. We can foster that in ourselves, to be fair. Add in the word yet. If you or your children are prone to making negative statements about themselves or their friends, get them to reframe the way they see themselves and how they think about themselves and how they speak about themselves. The thought cycle. What we think, we start to speak. What we think and speak, we start to feel. When we feel something, it becomes so strong that we believe it to be true. And if that's a positive thing, that's awesome. If it's a not so positive or a downright negative thing, then we have to unpick everything backwards. Adding in the word yet is a massive help. Repetition of all that's good and all that's positive is excellent. Helping them to expand their knowledge by asking questions about their aspirations. Want to be an astronaut? Want to be a doctor? What do you think that's going to take? I would have liked to have been a doctor when I was your age, but I didn't make it because, or maybe you are a doctor and you have actual experience where you could lead your kids on the most basic of levels. We're talking age stage appropriate strategies here, by the way, and I'm aware that there's a wide age group within the group. Everything, and I do mean everything, is possible when it comes to our children's imagination. Whether we believe that to be true or not is actually not relevant. They do. They believe they can fly. You show them how. And I don't mean by jumping off the furniture, but you literally take whatever it is. We take whatever it is that they want and we help them to see it for what it really is. It doesn't matter if your kiddie comes to you and says, I want to be a Jedi warrior. It doesn't matter. Show him how he can do that. Mirror his belief for as long as it takes, and then wait until he comes back to you and says, forget that, I want to be a vet. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you found that valuable. Please come back to me with any questions you might have. I'm more than happy to chat to any of you. Tell your kids this from me. I believe they can fly. I hope they do too. If they're not quite there yet, help them mirror their self-belief back to themselves. Help them mirror their self-belief back to themselves and understand that in that self-belief, not only do they have the wings to fly, but the courage to fall and try again tomorrow. My name's Sue Curr. I'm a mental well-being mindset specialist. Have a fab day. Take care. Bye-bye.